Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious, back in the bunker. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here, man? We're repping America, the center, common sense, and party poppers. Yeah. All right, so we're going to kick this right off with a quick explanation. How did I come up with the title? Sounded good. I'm going to show you right here. It's a quote from Thomas Sowell. Much of the social history of the Western world over the past 3 decades has been a history of replacing what worked with what sounded good. That about sums it up, doesn't it, folks? I mean, I understand that the argument could be made that some of the stuff that worked was not equal, it was detrimental to the environment. I get that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with correcting mistakes. I don't have a problem with cleaning up the planet. It's the way people go about it. It's the whole sounded good. See, they start with sounds good, and then when it fails, sounded good. And that's what we're seeing, and we're seeing that across the board. And I really don't understand how people such as the people, the citizens of California here, I don't understand this, okay? So you set up a webcam, and you see your babysitter getting drunk off of your booze. And then you hire her again next weekend. That's what we're operating on right now. We're operating with this. We're seeing the failures of certain progressive policies. But yet we just vote for the progressives again. We just keep doing it. We're here in California. We are going to reelect Gavin Newsom. And he's a terrible elitist. He doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about the people who he says he cares about. He cares about rich lobbyists who dump money into his war chest to get him to do things. Look at what they did in California with the education system. In my day, my parents' day, they were both teachers. I think they would have risked COVID to keep the schools open. That's my opinion. I mean, there's no way to prove it. We can't go back in time. But at one point here in California, education was important. What's happened to it? It's no longer important. Educating is no longer important. The seemingly glowing results are what's important. Oh, we got 98% graduation rate. Yeah, and they're all a bunch of dummies. That's what Sowell means here, with what worked, with what sounded good. Tweaking things, small changes, incremental changes. That's what leads to lasting change. Not just simply saying, hey, let's make all the B's A's and all the C's B's and all the D's B's and the B's knees and all of that. No, that doesn't work. So let's look at some examples as we go through this. I'm going to start off with some bullet points. Yep, we're going to start off with some bullet points. There we go. Here's one, just to kind of tell you where the craziness is. The whole argument that according to today's Democratic Party, if you believe that only women get pregnant, you are a bigot and responsible for violence. A pro-abortion witness just called Senator Hawley transphobic for suggesting that only women can get pregnant. Well, here's the thing. Trans men can get pregnant. There you go. Trans men. Women who are transitioning into being men. Women who are transitioning into being men that have not taken steps to completely de-womanize themselves, I guess. That's probably not the right word, but I don't care. The point still stands. But again, we want to have these little battles that don't add up to anything. Trans men, women who are becoming men, probably since they're leaving womanhood behind, are probably not really interested in doing one of the most feminine things you can do, which is to get pregnant. I mean, let's face it. I mean, of the superpowers that women have, and they do have superpowers, their number one superpower is they can make life. So they're probably not going to be doing that. But that's up to them. I don't care. I don't really care if you want to live as a man, but you want to have a baby. Why should I care? I will punch people in the face if they try to stop you. I will punch people in the face if they try to discriminate against you or deny you health care. But let's be realistic. We need to be realistic. I mean, here a good example is here in California. You could put that you're non-binary on your driver's license, right? But there is no classification yet for trans, which would actually be medically necessary to know. I mean, if you have somebody laying on your operating table that's been in a horrific car wreck, it might be helpful to know what you're dealing with. You know, it might be helpful in terms of identification, but non-binary, it sounds great and it sounds good, but come on. How's that the important part of this? Just like the argument over men can get pregnant, men cannot get pregnant. They can't. Trans men can. Instead of making it about acceptance, what they make it about is terminology and whether or not you're part of their little club. Open borders, compassion for people at the border. And what is that resulting in? 1.7 million total encounters at the southern border. And again, those were encounters. Those are times when, people laid eyes on people. That isn't all the people who have come across. It's already breaking the record from 2021, and they still got 3 months left in the fiscal year. But even more terrifying is down at the bottom there. The terrorist screening database flagged 6 hits in June, bringing the total for fiscal year 2022 to 56, which is nearly double the 30 in the previous 4 years combined. 56 terrorists. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but they were flagged, okay? They were flagged. How many more have gotten through? You want to provide people the opportunity to come to America for a better life. Great. Fully support that. But that does not mean I want you to kick open the border and just let everybody flood across, because where are these people going to work? What are these people going to do for housing? They're coming into places that are already, they're coming into a situation right now that is already packed to the gills. We're already having problems financing everything. So now we got people who are not legally allowed to work in this country that need to be fed, housed, insured, all that. And here in California, we are going to provide them medical insurance. They can't work, but they can get insurance. That's not the way we should be doing it. If you want to loosen immigration regulations, streamline processes, go ahead. So I bring this one up. I don't really care about the whole Pac-12. College football, college sports as a whole, it's just the minor leagues for the pros. I don't really buy into it. I just don't. I guess as a sports fan, I just don't really care. But the reason I bring this up is because Gavin, who sits on the board, is talking about, is this a good idea? Did we discuss the merits or demerits? I was not aware that anyone did. It was done in isolation. They never asked for an opinion, and they didn't even have the decency to provide a heads up. So he's mad. He's mad that USC or UCLA, because it's part of the UC system, is leaving the Pac-12. That he demands conversations about. That he cares about, because that's in his little world. See, that's his world, so he's going to care about that. As far as the rest of us, he doesn't give a shit. As we're about to see in some other articles here, California and the California liberals, they demand reports. They demand you predict the outcome, but then they don't do it themselves. And that's what makes this so ironic, that he's complaining about not being asked his opinion on something as insignificant as college sports. So Gavin recently was in Washington, D.C. to accept an award in recognition of California's transformative improvements to education. What? What? Are you kidding me? We shut all the schools down. We set kids back a couple years. We destroyed them. What, in California, where the average 8th grader is doing 5th grade math? How is he even in discussion to get an award, let alone get the award? Oh, they're here for the underprivileged kids, BIPOC, and all of that bullshit. But his policies crippled them and have set them back years, if not forever. And DA Gascon disbands unit that notifies victims of their assailants' parole hearings. He flat out doesn't care. He doesn't care about the victims of crime. We saw that in New York when they put an innocent man in jail for a week because he defended himself against 2 people who were attacking him, but let gang members out. Gascon doesn't care about victims. What? And you're going to vote for this again? You're going to vote for these idiots, people who have... Look, I understand. Criminal reform, great idea. His way of doing it, no. Criminal reform is not just letting all the criminals out and hoping for the best. And then Newsom goes on Fox, not Fox News, the local Fox affiliate, KTTV, and he says he doesn't know about Gascon's job. He wants to know about the Pac-12 realignment or defection. He wants to know about that. He wants to have a discussion about that. But he doesn't even know what a piss poor job Gascon's doing. He's like, why are they recalling him? He's transformative. No, he's not. He's not punishing criminals. That's his criminal reform. His criminal reform is fuck the victims. The police are always wrong. And if you just keep letting people out of jail, eventually they'll either, they'll clean up their act or they'll end up dead. You argue with me, put it down in the comments, whatever, please interact. I need the algorithm to notice me. And meanwhile, this is the literacy rate for California. 77%. The highest is New Hampshire, 94%. That's just there for comparison. But what? Are we going to blame? What are we going to blame? Immigrants? Is that what we're going to do? We're going to say, oh, they don't know how to read, so no. It's the school systems. Come on. You know that. You know a percentage of that is people coming here from other countries that don't know how to read. Okay, so that doesn't reflect on America or California. Great, I got that. But even if you give them a 10% boost for that, you're still talking 86%, 8 points lower than the top. 5th largest economy in the world. We have no electricity, we have no water, and our education system is a joke. And teachers, you are not the teachers of the past, okay? You think being woke makes you a teacher? You think showing up and collecting that paycheck? You think showing students how they do math in other countries is a benefit? But then as soon as you have an excuse to just shut the whole damn thing down, you shut it down. The union. Crock of shit, man. Teachers used to be respected. I don't see how you could respect, especially here in California, the average teacher. I don't see it. You ran for cover, and you knew what the consequences were going to be. You didn't really want to focus on that. All you cared about was what sounded good, and a 1-year vacation sounded good, apparently. Just a quick, run on Biden-Harris here. they try to defend this 9.1% inflation by saying it doesn't reflect the recent decline in excessively high gas prices. Well, depending on where you look, and after a while I got bored of the whole damn thing. But gas isn't even sometimes part of an inflation formula. And just because one thing goes down doesn't really mean much, because diesel prices are still through the roof. And when we're done with this, you'll see how California is even making it worse. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if Kamala Harris and Joe Biden blame California for a lot of this. That's just true. A lot of shipping goes through here. But, in April of 2020, Biden said, the president needs to stop blaming others and do his job. Yeah. In August, he said, here's my promise to you. If I'm elected president, I will always choose to unite rather than divide. I'll take responsibility instead of blaming others. Oh, my goodness. That about sums it up for you. And if that's not enough, the Biden family just continued to let you know what elitist people they were, how little they cared about the average American, how little they really cared about America. I mean, really, I think you could just simply say that. They talk about the top 1%, and that's who he cares about. But he is convinced, and his party has convinced a bunch of youngsters that they represent the 99%. They don't. They're the lying sacks of shit, constantly. And they're not trying to do anything. If you were trying to do something and it wasn't working, then you could talk about why it wasn't working. White House still searching for a Biden they can send out in public. It really is quite a train wreck. I mean, look, you could hate on Trump all you want, but be honest here. These are not three people I want representing America. See, Joe and I love the Hispanics. Yeah, this is referring to her comparing the Hispanics in Texas to breakfast tacos. Yeah, I've read the quote. It's not the worst thing anybody's ever said. But their side wants you to believe in insurrections and collusion. They want you to believe that all these small things are much bigger than they really are. So, I'm sorry, but I guess, you know what, bitch? You a racist. That's all I can say. Taco chill. Think outside the bodegas. Yeah. Polls indicate more breakfast tacos leaning Republican. Yeah, that's what we've seen out of the Republicans lately. We've seen them embrace some of this bullshit. Deplorables, ultra MAGA, breakfast tacos. You know what? If you're in the center or if you are a Republican, you should embrace this. Because the answer is not less sense of humor. It's more sense of humor. So we were talking about California and its dumb consequences. And, here's another one. New California law requires gun makers to block sales to those at risk of harming themselves or others. Subjective. What does this really mean? Well, if you are, let's say, Asian of some persuasion, ooh, rhymes, and you don't like black people, and you own a gun store, you see where this could all lead? It's subjective. It's subjective. What if you don't like people with long hair or colored hair? Are you not going to sell a gun to somebody with pink hair because you think, wow, they've dyed their hair, they must have a bad relationship with their parents, and they're going to kill themselves? Where is this line? Again, they don't set up any sort of structure. They just simply say, we can sue you if you sell a gun to somebody who kills themselves. We can sue you now because we said it in the law. I mean, we didn't back it up with any like studies or evidence that this would work or any sort of clear guidelines. But hey, but this could just lead to not selling to minorities or only selling to your group. What if you're black and you own a gun store and you're like, I don't want white people having a gun? All you got to do is say, hey, you know what? He was kind of sketchy. And what, you can block them? I don't understand. Are you saying that Remington now has to go through all of my social media? What are you saying? What are you saying? You have passed this to allow lawsuits, but what's your plan? What's your plan here? California is forcing truckers out of work. The thing I love about this is this points out a few things. First of all, the effects will reach far beyond California and California's borders. Okay? Right there. California's masterclass in destroying sectors of its own economy will reverberate through the country. But at least California Democrats were able to put those truckers in their place for their own good, of course. Because they don't care. See? They don't care. They essentially, as we're saying right here, California Democrats had to run those truckers out of jobs because they shouldn't like being independent, even if they say they did. California Democrats know what's good for you, even when it means ruining your livelihood and forcing you to the unemployment line. See? They're smarter than you. That's the bottom line. They're smarter than you. But these people own their own trucks. I don't get it. 70,000 truck drivers. Okay, right now we have a truck driver shortage. And the reason that matters is because 40% of container cargo comes into California and leaves California for the West and even beyond. But they know what's best. The effects will not be listed. Oh, here you go. 72% of American goods are shipped by trucks. So again, these truckers who are operating in California operate in other states too. In most communities, trucks are the only form of delivery. And of course, Biden supports this. And he wants to impose it on the entire country. Because, like California's Democrats, national Democrats think they know how, when, and where you should be allowed to work. And if you disagree, that's too bad. They own their own trucks. Okay? So, are they supposed to be employees who drive their own vehicles? Because again, that's not the way it's supposed to work in California. So what are they going to have to do? These are people who signed up for a grueling job for a sense of independence. That's just the way it is. I see it at my own job. Okay? I have a limited amount of freedom. I do my scheduling. That's important to me. That's important to these people who have invested in buying trucks and then getting contracts and being able to live and work and have families and all that the way they see fit. You know, drive for 4 days, have 3 days off. Drive, whatever it is. Whatever it is. But you're taking these opportunities away. Here in Los Angeles, they have now banned natural gas appliances. Again, this is something that will be taken nationally. But about 170 million Americans use natural gas to heat their homes and cook their meals. And it's affordable. Okay, here's something you should know. Okay, it's 1/4 the price of electricity. All right, so my gas bill is about it fluctuates, of course, $30 to $50 a month. Okay, I don't know if that's high or not. I don't care. That's just the number. But if you multiply that by 4, I could be looking up to $200. So in the summer, I'm going to pay a bunch for electricity for my air conditioning and then my heater. And again, what if there's a blackout? What if there's a blackout? Natural gas is not affected by blackouts. You can light a natural gas stove with matches. And, of course, to make electricity, since we don't have renewable green energy here, we think we do, but we really don't. We don't allow nuclear energy. We're going to have to burn gas to make electricity. And doing it that way is higher in emissions, CO2, all of that. But we're going to plow ahead with it. We don't have a plan to make electricity, but we're going to make you run on electricity. Yet, even with all the benefits considered, our environmental activists would rather push out-of-touch policies that drive up prices for families and businesses and wreak havoc on consumer choice. And there you go. There you go. The environmental lobby says, hey, Gavin, hey, city council, here's a bunch of money to fund your political aspirations. This is what we need you to do. And does anybody ask us, why are we allowing politicians to make such sweeping changes to how we do things? Not laws, just sweeping changes. They're not talking about earthquake safety with gas. No. They're just like emissions, and that's it. That's good enough for them. We're green. We're hip. We're liberal. We're progressive. And we don't give a fuck what you have to say. See what I mean? And what has that gotten us? The whole, let's do what sounds good, especially in terms of law enforcement. Starbucks is actually closing stores in Seattle, Portland, Philadelphia, LA, and DC because they're not safe. They're not safe to have a store there anymore. Liberal cities, each and all of them, whatever. They're all liberal cities. And their Starbucks aren't safe? I'm going to go quick on this one because we're starting to, run out of time. But another brilliant California thing. They make a big push for solar about 20 years ago. Those solar panels are now in need of recycling, and there's no program. For toxic materials, there's no program. And the reason is because, again, what sounds good? Like it says, clean energy is a worthy goal, overshadowed by lofty expectations that outpace the pragmatisms of working people. Pesky facts like technological limitations and costs are thrown aside in favor of magic. Ban fossil fuels and utopia will follow. Really. The rich can afford to ignore high prices. I can't. Biden campaigning, get rid of fossil fuels. But there are no alternatives right now. He harmed our security. For what? They don't exist at the scale we need them right now. We became energy independent under Trump. That gave us leverage over the Middle East. It gave us leverage over Russia. Then we basically signaled we were going to shut it all down, and look where we're at. Look where we're at. Can you argue where we're at? No. It's a shitstorm. We have lost all of our leverage. Giving away a huge economic and national security advantage is political malpractice. Slowing American energy production while begging the Saudis to increase their own. Did they not study this? Did they not? It's a botch so foreseeable, it should be disqualifying for future leadership. You knew what was going to happen, in other words. On most of these things, these progressives, these liberals, know what the end result is going to be, and they don't care. Because they care about signaling. I'll tell you this, man, Purple State don't give a shit about signaling, man. Deeds, not words. I don't give a fuck what you stand for. What do you do? You see, what do you do? I sometimes get into arguments with my brother. And I think to myself, why is it that I'm the one who sort of defends the middle, defends conservatives? Why am I the one who has to defend Trump? When between the two of us, I'm the most compassionate and understanding person. I don't have any hate in my heart. My brother's filled with hate for people. Christians, for one. People who live in certain states, Republicans, all of that. Not an ounce of love in his heart. But then I realized something. You see, I realized something. I'm like the average liberal voter. I have compassion. My brother is like the average Democrat politician. Doesn't give a shit. Just supports his team and says what he needs to get money and get elected. That's why he has no compassion. Anyhow, these are the kind of things that we allow the media to distract us from. We are going to give hundreds of billions of dollars to Iran. Okay? Now, that might work, except that we know, as according to General Keane here, in 2015, when they got hundreds of billions of dollars from Obama as a result of Obama's nuclear deal, what did they do? The Iranians then proceeded to take that money, topple the regime in Yemen, shot hundreds of missiles into Saudi Arabia, put tens of thousands of missiles into Hezbollah, Hamas, and they, in turn, rained them down on Israel. They tried to put bases in Syria. So much that the Israelis conducted over 200 airstrikes into Syria against Iran's proxies. So Iran's going to say, oh, we're not going to make a nuclear weapon, and we're going to turn over hundreds of billions of dollars. That's the liberal way of thinking, even though we already know that Obama did this and it didn't work. How about Iran? You don't get atomic weapons. And that's a hill that we and you are going to die over. The Israelis are prepared to do it. The Israelis, you tell the Israelis, go to town, they'll take out every single site involved in the enrichment of uranium. What do? We're going to give them money so that they can sponsor terrorism. And then when they've gone through that money, they're just going to say, hey, we're going to make an atomic weapon now. And the U.S. will go, no, and give them more money. Okay? There you go. This one really illustrates what's wrong with America. Fuck off, bitch. Video shows toddlers cursing and hitting Minnesota cops serving a warrant for a murder suspect. They were wearing diapers. You'll see the picture. A crowd was egging the kids on, calling the black police officers Oreos. Because if you're black, you can't be a cop. If you're black, you can't stand for law and order. And that's what you're getting from your own people. See, there you go, right there. And this is from an article called Grooming Children for a Life of Crime. Now, I'm going to say something, balance this all out. I understand that there are white people out there who are teaching their kids to hate. Okay? Teaching your kids to hate is the most irresponsible, un-American, unhuman thing you can do. So, if you are one of those people who teaches hate, you got no right to complain about anything that happens to you. Okay? And the communities that support people who act this way, you got no rights either. So really quickly, a lot of people know that Sri Lanka, they stormed the capital. The president fled and basically quit. They are in a world of hurt. The Dutch farmers and other ones, I believe in Italy and Germany, are revolting against this, against these green initiatives. A lot of people will say, well, that's not just, no, it is, okay? Because in the Netherlands, they want to Poland. They want to take away farms because farms make emissions from cows and tractors. I don't know where they think the food's going to come from. In Sri Lanka, They banned chemical fertilizers to force the country to move towards organic and environmentally friendly farming. And the results have been catastrophic. Within 7 months, crop yields went down, prices went up. There are some other factors to this, but when rice goes up by nearly a third and vegetables rose 5 times what they were a year ago, they started starving. And on July 9th, thousands converged on the presidential residence and stormed the gates. Excuse me, well, not their capital. They went to his house. So for us, that would be the White House. Now, this is not entirely on green policies, although in Germany, Italy, Poland, Netherlands, those are purely environmentally driven decisions that are detrimental. If you don't like the emissions coming from tractors, let's work on a way. Tractors could be electrified. Maybe we should put our money that way. Not trying to make every single one of us drive an electric car. Maybe go that way. Maybe figure out ways to reduce some of the gases. Maybe reuse the gases. Maybe clean the gases before they leave. I don't know. I mean, you could stick all the cows in a warehouse and basically filter the air. But I'm guessing keeping them in a warehouse is not a great idea. That might make Swedish teen climate activist Greta Thunberg happy, but you'd think the country's leaders would prefer one unhappy Swede to a mob of angry citizens. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, we got to get going on this. So we'll hit up. This is one of my favorites of the week. New York State has served a warrant on AOC for dodging taxes. She's the one who, of course, who wore the tax the rich dress. I'm not even going to put it up there because I don't want to be accused of wanting to date her. So I don't just keep all of her pictures off, you know. She wore the tax the rich. And, of course, the lady who made the tax the rich dress that she wore has also received 15 tax warrants since 2015. So tax the rich, just don't tax me is what they're really saying. Kind of like some of the arguments that were made about all lives matter, black lives matter, black lives are the only ones that matter, that kind of thing. That's what, again, another liberal catchphrase that is kind of secretly like, you know, I don't know. What's the word? Hyphenated? I don't know. I don't care. Tax the rich, don't tax me. Senator Warren leaps out just in time to swat prenatal vitamins away from a woman leaving a pregnancy center. Of course, yeah, she called crisis pregnancy centers, you know, torturing pregnant women. Look, honey, you know, it's really easy for you to talk about this stuff. You ain't getting a baby. You ain't making a baby. So it's very easy for you to come down on the side of, whatever. Oh, my God. I understand because I support that side. But, you know, just because a place provides abortions doesn't mean that's all they do unless they literally are just an abortion provider. Planned pregnancy does not necessarily, I mean, if you think about it, planned pregnancy, it's in the name there, planned pregnancy. So either if you've planned it or if it's unplanned, we can help you fix that. But they don't just do that. And for her to attack, it's just ignorant. This is one I agree with Tim here. Wish I'd have thought of this one. If I know somebody with dementia that has nuclear weapons, should I report him under the red flag law? I told you to let me order the mass. Almost as clueless as they are. Welcome to Florida. Come back to California. Come back to California. Come back to California. You arrogant fucking son of a bitch. You and your party have driven people out. I was born here. I wanted to die here. I wanted to be cremated and spread over the coast of California. Either Dana Point or Carlsbad. Not sure because I spent a lot of time at both of them. There's no way. There is no way that when I retire, I'll be able to stay here. You are a fuckwad. And you want to run for president and you might become president? You are disgusting, man. I'm telling you, man, if you are in a leadership position in California for the Democrats, you should just be barred from leaving the state politically. NASA developing even larger telescope to photograph your mom. I like mom jokes. I don't really care about space all that much. Sri Lanka plan for economic utopia stifled by pesky need for food. That sums it up, doesn't it? The pesky need for food, fuel, security. Inflation's so bad that you can only get 2.08 grams of crack for the same price you could once get 20.8 grams of crack. Yeah, why do we have pictures of Hunter Biden and his crack? Biden vows to help all minorities, whether they are black, yellow, or taco. San Francisco DA announces innovative new plan to arrest people for breaking the law. Yeah, she's going in there and cleaning house. We know what doesn't work. Open air drug markets where school kids have to walk by don't work. Liberals at Yale hold a hunger strike so the young Republicans host a barbecue right next to them. Yep. Look, folks, I've said it time and time again. Both sides have things that are wrong. Both sides act politically. Both sides care more about their own political aspirations than they do the average citizens. Okay? But when you look at what these sides are trying to accomplish and you look at what might happen with the end result, one side definitely has worse ideas. Hey, I'm not a fan of outlawing abortion, okay? That could have some bad consequences for a small percentage of people. And look, I'm not trying to be callous here, but when you F up the price of food and you F up the price of fuel, and the only people who are comfortable are the top 30%, and 70% of us are struggling, that affects more people. You see what I mean? That affects more people. So while I don't support everything the Republicans stand for, I don't support some of their supporters in the ways they think. Their end result affects a lot less people. Purple state, by the way, right in the middle. Take the good, you take the bad. Take them both, and there you have the purple state, the purple state. If you know that song, you're old. Ha! Or somebody got you to watch reruns on Nick at one point. I don't know. Well, my point of this is we can't pass any more laws that whose main focus is it sounds good. Banning abortion, banning natural gas. Sounds good. But what are the end results? And how do we get there? And are we going to set something up to actually get there? I don't see it a lot out of our politicians. That's why we need new politicians. We need a new party. We need a party we need a party that can look at both sides and pick the better solution that affects or negatively affects the least amount of people. Because this is bonkers what we're seeing. And we are seeing it now worldwide. We should be horrified, man, that we have socialist leftists taking over in places like Colombia. We saw what they did in Sri Lanka. We've seen what they do in Cuba. We've seen what happens in places like Korea, Venezuela, you name it. The far left is very, very dangerous. Yeah, the far right looks dangerous, but the far left is way more dangerous because their policies are cuckoo and end in bad results. Because that's it. Copious out. Hey, didn't say hi to you over there, kitty. 4th of July survivor.